Alright, let's get started then. So, a bit an unusual time for me to stream, but right now I was about to sculpt something. I was in the middle of sculpting something and I thought, why not share it? So feel free to join me on this little sculpt practice here for this week's stream, and if you have any questions, just use the chat and write whatever you want. I really didn't prepare anything for today as in talking points, so the show is completely up to you today. I will basically be sculpting here for an hour, a bit longer, maybe 1 hour and a half. And I'll be talking a little bit about what I do and where I want this sculpt to go. Hey there, BBS. How is it going? I'll try to be a bit more interactive with the chat today, so feel free to ask any questions over there if you like. Hey there, Albane Edge. Thanks for joining the stream. Hi. So I can start out with a little funny story about the time of the stream. I did most of the streams so far on Saturday, or at least it's Saturday for my time in Japan. And what was very convenient about that was that in Europe, where my family is, they have night during that time, so so I wouldn't feel the pressure of my family watching. But today, I guess it's different. Today they might be joining, so let's see if they will be around. Anyways, kind of off topic. Do they look like superheroes to you? I kind of want to try a new style though. You probably also noticed that what I'm modeling recently is very different from what I did previously, right? I want to get a lot more into more realistic, still stylized, but more realistic than before, kind of character modeling. So that's where I'm heading at the moment. So I'm using ZBrush. For those who don't know, the question always comes up every week actually. It's kind of funny. So ZBrush is, to sum it up very quickly, a sculpting software. You know, there are two main modeling techniques that people use these days. There's polygon modeling, which is what Blender does very well, where you just drag around the points and you connect faces. And there is sculpting, and one very nice tool for sculpting is ZBrush, which is what I'm using here. And you're kind of playing around with virtual clay, and you can add lots of detail if you're skilled at it. That's kind of the advantage over the polygon modeling technique. Oh, okay, I see. So apparently the hard edges make it look like that. No, it's just that I'm trying to figure out the basic planes of the head, like sort of the proportions and that sort of thing. I still don't feel 100% comfortable with doing that, so I just want to take this easy as a little sketch, kind of getting more comfortable with the shapes of a head. I kind of started out a bit before starting the stream actually, so you won't have the entire thing on the recording, but as soon as I realized that I would be spending like at least an hour on this, I went and started the stream, because I didn't know if I was going to continue. So, where do you guys want me to take this character? Any ideas? Since some people throw in their suggestion, comic-like superheroes, fighting game characters. Sounds fun, all of it. Right, but let me add the ears first of all, because characters always look very, very weird without ears. Believe me, if you do a character model and you think you can do the ears later, but then you start wondering about why your character looks weird, just try adding ears. I'll try doing it this time with a cylinder object. You can insert meshes like this in ZBrush. I tried different methods, but this time I want to go with a cylinder. Let's see if that works. Hey there! I can't pronounce your name, sorry. Jep? Jep? I think Jep. Thanks for joining the stream. So I hope this time works better for everybody living in Europe, because so far my time was very bad for everybody who lived in Europe. It was in the middle of the night the last couple of weeks. So where are you guys from? Let's see. What time is it in the United States now? I start wondering. It must be somewhere in the middle of the night. Wonderful, I pronounced his name correctly. That's an achievement. Nice, India. And France. Perfect. I think we didn't have many people from these areas on the last couple of streams. Another funny YouTube name, Hired Gun Games. I'm really glad to hear that my videos inspired you to get into sculpting. Definitely keep doing it. Like, I think it's a wonderful hobby to have, or doing it as a profession even. Yeah, these emojis, by the way, somebody mentioned that these emojis look creepy. Do you guys know this, how sometimes you pick them, you write them in your own application, but then they look completely different on the receiver's side? What do you think about that? For me, that's like really annoying. Sometimes I send like an emoji that is supposed to be like neutral, but then on the other side it becomes like a really smiley, weird face. Or at least I had this before. And I didn't know, and I kept using it for a long time. Oh, whatever. I guess people will get used to it. Oh, really? Hired Gun Games is doing it professionally now. Since when are you doing it? I'm kind of curious now. I mean, almost sounds like you're doing this for longer than I am. For those who are wondering, by the way, I did modeling for quite long, but sculpting I actually started out only 3 years ago. I mentioned previously the difference between polygon modeling and sculpting. I started out with sculpting about now almost 10 years ago. No, maybe not that much, maybe 8 years ago. But sculpting is really new for me. Albane Edge. I do use Discord by now, you know. It's not like I'm staying out of date forever. But I really don't have too much application for it, to be honest. I mean, what else am I supposed to do with it other than talking with people? I mean, I don't have much time to interact with communities on a very frequent basis, so that's that. Yeah, but sorry about the stream delay, by the way. I think that's normal. There are some various settings on YouTube, but the settings that I chose, they involve like around 30 seconds of delay. Not the best, but I think we can deal with it. So Hired Gun Games has been doing 3D since 2008. So, and then he managed to finally be satisfied apparently with his art and became professional. That's a great story. I kind of feel the same. I mean, not that I've reached that level yet for myself, but I used to be a lot more dissatisfied with my projects, and I do start to feel that there is a change in that at some point, that, you know, things go to somewhere where oneself can be more accepting of their own artwork. It's of course not like you start to, what should I say, loving your artwork, but you can respect it. Like, even if you don't like it, you know that it will be good at the end, sort of. May I ask which tutorials it was that helped you, since Hired Gun Games mentioned that some of the videos helped him? So somebody from the United States is joining after all. Yeah, it's 2 AM on their side. But let's do a European friendly stream for once, with a time that works for everybody over there. That's a funny story. So the story continues of Hired Gun Games. He says, "Yeah, I was never critical of my artwork till someone told me I stunk. It was your Anime Girl Blender series, and also just in general the anime series." Okay, I see. So you were confident about your artwork from the beginning on? I wonder who it was who told you that so honestly about not liking your artwork. Was that online in some community, or was it somebody in person? Thanks for joining the stream anyways. I'm just sculpting a bit randomly here, but I hope it gives everybody a chance to connect. That must be harsh when a professional character artist tells you that you aren't good. Well, it happens often though, I guess, as artists, that, you know, you show your things around and somebody will say like, it's bad, give it up, you don't have any future in this. But I mean, how is it for me? I wasn't told that sort of thing directly, but indirectly often. Like, one of the things that I was told is that I'm not supposed to try hard on something that I'm not talented at, because, you know, when I started out, I heard a lot on YouTube from other talented artists that, you know, if you just practice, you can do it. And so I really believed in that, because I wasn't really good at the beginning, but I really wanted to be good, so I just kept believing that if I just spent enough time on it, I would finally get good. And it turned out to be sort of true. I mean, I'm still not where I want to be, but I think I'm moving to the right direction. But in my past, there were also many people who kind of told me that it's not a very good idea to keep trying so hard on something that I'm not really born for, where the conditions aren't really there. So, for example, I was often told that I have a strength for sciences because I was kind of always interested in it. It kind of fascinated me always. So they would tell me, why do you try so hard on art? You should just become a scientist. And yeah, I like science and everything, but it's not what I want to do. So that was always a struggle. So let's see how the story goes on then. From then, hired gun games, so to get decent. Okay. With his art. So at this point, Hired Gun Games says that you can sculpt the characters without references. Yeah. I mean, you get at this point where you can sculpt without reference, and it's interesting when you look back at how you looked at artists who work without reference probably at the beginning. It's kind of fascinating, right? I mean, you don't know how do they memorize all of this, but really it's what is it? It's the knowledge of like making artwork from your mind is very structured, I believe. As in, you know, start out with a spherical shape of these and these proportions, you know, sort of how the skull is shaped, so you can make the right what should you say? Well, the right shape, and then you start detailing it, you know, again, the proportions for where the next line and separation is supposed to be, and you just kind of construct your way forward. And if you include more knowledge about what kind of shapes make what kind of emotion, and there you go, you have a character with a story. So it's, in the end, I think almost it ends up being a very strategic progress that character design actually is. But here is a kind of different topic, but a very interesting sort of within arts, a controversial topic, that is the difference between designers and artists, actually. I mean, we're called 3D artists, but I personally don't really think that what I'm doing is art, or what the people in game studios do is art, because art isn't really for a purpose, is it? I mean, a game production has a very clear goal. I mean, it can be to make profit, it can be to entertain people, whatever it is, but there is a mission, a project, where every design, every decision, everything in the game will have a reason that contributes to fulfilling the goal. But in art, there is absolutely none of that. I mean, you could be a commercial artist, but then I'm not sure how much of art that counts as, but to me at least the difference is a very strong one. And even though we keep calling ourselves artists because that's the best way to describe ourselves, maybe there really is something a bit different that we should call ourselves. I mean, I would like the just 3D modeler or the designer, no, but since we aren't even designing if we're 3D modelers, since we're just using the design of a concept artist, I guess we're just simply scientists in a way. Yeah, technically skilled people. And interestingly, very few artists are good at the things that we designers do, and the same thing the other way around. If you tell someone like me to just make something, some art, tell my story through a picture, I would struggle with that a lot. But then it ends up being a really interesting topic. So here in the chat there is the opinion to do art for yourself, not for others. And The DJAP? Yeah, agrees with that opinion apparently. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a good thing to do, but can you guys always at any time come up with the motivation to do things for yourself? I mean, if I do something only for myself, I start to lose motivation. I feel like it doesn't have a meaning if it's only for myself. But that's just myself. What do you guys think about that? And by the way, I'm back to the struggle of making my sculpt look female, because I'm stuck in this endless thing of my proportions just not looking right. It looks very... maybe because I have so many angular shapes. I'm still trying to figure out what characteristics of the face really make the difference between male and female. So let me play around with my sculpt a little bit here. Yeah, well, of course our own opinion is the most powerful, but I guess yeah, art is maybe something that's supposed to be for yourself. Is that maybe something? But design isn't. I'm pretty sure design is something that fulfills an objective and not just an idea, like an opinion of oneself. Oh, so you mean that it is a way of expressing yourself to others, a way of communication? I guess that makes a lot of sense. It is quite interesting when you look at art and then you start thinking about what the artist could have wanted to say with that, because it's sometimes so abstract. But then when it's too abstract and you have no idea anymore where it comes from, then it might be missing the point a little bit again. But anyways, I'm probably not a really good artist in that sense, because sometimes I feel like how much of a right do we have to tell people our selfish opinions? I mean, we can put something out there, but it's always up to the others to decide if they want to believe in this or not. So whereas design is very neutral in that sense. But these are just my own opinions anyways. But I've been talking to people about design and art and that sort of thing for a long time. For even when I started out 6-7 years ago. And my opinion always changed, so I still don't have a really clear image of that, but I guess that's for everybody. So, who has an idea about how I can make this sculpt look more feminine? I'll give you a view around. This is the front view. This is the side. What looks really off to you? I mean, I see many points that are just not quite right yet, generally as in proportions that I will try to fix. But what is it that makes the difference between male and female in faces? I've looked at a couple of faces recently, and I can tell you the ones that I kind of think are important. For one, the chin is wider, but that's maybe all I can say so far. It is wider, but that doesn't mean that female characters shouldn't have a chin. Right. Okay. Then I kind of felt like the cheeks are a bit higher, a bit more pronounced, but let me try to get this right a little bit here. And one of the very big differences that I see is on the eyebrows. The way the eyebrows are very round, and also like the whole bone structure and the skin below it. Whereas for male characters, the eyes are kind of sharper, straighter, more edged. There we go. Oh hey, Animator Kit, thanks for your comment. About the anime character tutorial, I would really like to get back to that at some day, but I mean, I keep saying this almost in every stream. I just at the moment don't really have the time and the right skills and preparation in place to make a new tutorial on that topic. I'll be getting back to that at some point, and next time I will probably use tools like ZBrush and Maya, because these are the tools used in industry. I want kind of to adapt to the environment here, but I'm sorry to say this, but you'll have to wait a little bit longer for that tutorial to happen. But to make up for that, I'm streaming, trying to stream every week. I've managed to do it 7 times in a row now, so let's hope that continues. So maybe I can find some time during one of the streams to just attempt it quickly. Any particular characters you guys will want to see? Let me ask that, since I have a chance to talk to you now. I mean, I can't promise anything, but let me hear your opinion. Maybe we'll find something that both of us like. Overwatch style. Yeah, I've seen the characters from Overwatch. I like this style too, yeah. But it's difficult. It's kind of a more realistic style, isn't it? Like, I don't have it 100% in mind right now, but slightly stylized, still fairly realistic proportions. Am I kind of right about that? Wonderful. Just keep using the emojis, they're fun. I like the cat up there. Oh, hello to the new people who joined the stream, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. I'm just casually sculpting and practicing a little bit here and talking with the chat, so feel free to put any questions and topics into the chat. These are characters, right? For, the ones that Paulo put into the chat, and Albane Edge. I think I'll be taking a look at those later on. Unfortunately, I don't know them. Oh, I think I know the one from GTO. What was that again? Something with... I'm not sure. I'm not sure anyways. I'll be looking at them a bit later. and see if there's anything in it that I can pick up and work on. Hi! No, this is not a project or anything. I'm just sculpting to practice, so I might change the direction of the sculpt a couple of times throughout making it. Alright, so I have one more really awesome story to share. I mean, I'm just myself really excited about this, that's all there is to it, but I finally got myself a VR headset, believe it or not, and I have lots of opinions on the whole VR topic now, since I've finally been able to try it for many hours, get a really good picture of it, trying various games. Let me start by asking who else here has a VR headset maybe, or who is interested in that sort of thing. I heard that VR chat is an awful place to hang out at. But that's all I heard, okay, so I haven't ever tried it. Yeah, thanks Animator Kid. I'll be keeping it in mind, and I'll make this video about characters somewhere in the future. No, but seriously, I'll really keep it in mind. That's one of the things that are on my to-do list in the big picture anyways. Oh, so you're making a character for VR chat? I don't really know what this is, to be honest, this whole VR chat thing. Is that basically a social... what is it? Social platform where you can make your own avatars and talk to people? Is there more to it, like some sort of sandbox game where you can join and do things with other people, as in, I don't know, they had this toy box game, I think, from Oculus, where you can join with friends and enjoy throwing objects at each other, pretty much. Okay, let me just say a little bit about the experiences that I had. First of all, I really liked... I mean, it's just amazing how they all describe it with this word immersive. But to interpret this word a little bit for everybody, it feels just very exciting to be in VR. It's just so different, so new, that it's just super fun to walk around and look around. But even though I'm really enthusiastic about it and I really want to move forward in VR and everything, I did have my concerns a little bit. So one thing that I was a bit upset about is that even though it is so realistic already, even though we can walk in it, it's room scale VR and everything, the memories of something that happened in VR are still not the same as something we experience in the real world. When I step out of VR and I remember the experience that I had, it feels like a dream, and that makes it kind of feel sad because you just spent 2 hours in a dream that nobody around you was able to take part in. It really disconnects you at the same time from the environment that you are actually in, like in real life. And so it's a very two-sided thing for me. I'm totally not going to stop at all. Like, I really want to develop things myself for VR. I think in the future VR will be huge, but it's interesting to think about this aspect of the disconnection that you get. And hello Flame Striker, thanks for joining the stream. So here's another experience that I tried that was really amazing in my opinion. Oh, and I forgot the name. It's this game where you throw around the disc. Was it Let me look it up quickly. Echo Arena? Yes, I played Echo Arena, which is a game in which you float around in zero gravity. And it's kind of like soccer. I mean, you have 2 goals and you have a ball and you have to get it, throw the disc into the enemy's goal, more or less. And you thrust yourself around zero gravity with thrusters, and you can grab all objects around you and push yourself off the walls, and you would think that's the worst for being for not getting motion sickness, but it turns out that it's surprisingly good. Like it feels awful. You feel like you're getting sick, but then after 2 hours you still haven't reached the point where you feel sick, so it's very, very interesting. And it's just incredibly fun. But here is what's really fascinating about the game. Because the Oculus Rift has a microphone built in, they require you pretty much to be more or less in this multiplayer space with your microphone on, and your avatar is not just a head. You have a whole body, you have arms, you have hands, your head is tracked, and you just join in. First of all, you might not even have an idea what's going on, and you know, people float towards you and they wave their hand at you and they're like, hi, and they're just like in front of you, and because you hear their voice, you realize that they can probably also hear you, and so it's very awkwardly like a real experience. As in, you know how in many video games you know the person, that the opponent doesn't know who you are. You can be a weirdo and get away with it pretty much. But in VR that's a different story, because the person in front of you seems so close in a way that it just doesn't feel right anymore to do anything that's not acceptable in society. So people kind of treat each other with respect. They really work together as if it was a sports team in that game in particular. Like, I had really good experiences with the communities there. And so you join these games, and in the first 10 seconds you're with your team, you can start, you know, talking with each other, telling each other where to go, and very quickly talk about strategy, because there are a few things you need to prepare before starting in the arena. And it's just incredibly fun how they get rid of your shyness. You know, you're actually talking with people in there. It's strangers on top of that. But you end up feeling quite secure after a short time. So that was a very wonderful aspect of that game. So yeah, long story short, it was very... The whole social aspect within VR is very impressive, but if the people that you meet in VR have nothing to do with your real world, it can also feel very, very disconnecting and lonely if you spend too much time in VR. That's my quick opinion on that and my experiences with 1 week of having a headset. So I'm curious about the future of it. I hope that there will be lots of developments and improvements in technology, because I can see how a lot could be still better. Yeah. So let's see what the chat says in the meantime. Well, we talked already about the anime character tutorials. You can go back in the video if you want to listen to that, but pretty much it will take a while until I can make the next tutorial. Sorry for that. Hey, but that's wrong, Albania Edge. So yeah, I do have the petition to only make female characters, because that's what my videos were about, but the whole thing changed a lot. I really, in sculpting, it's quite the opposite. It seems like I can only really make characters that look male, but then the reason why I'm trying so hard to make female characters now is because I need to figure out the differences. I need to figure out what it is that gets like, you know, in the last stream I was trying so hard and people were like all the time telling me, no, the nose is too wide and the neck is too wide and you have to make the chin round and all sorts of things. Alright, the chin and the ears. Let me try that. I'll work on that. Yeah, sorry for skipping over a few ones here. I'm using ZBrush Core. Thanks for answering that for me. I'll be checking out VR Chat afterwards on YouTube. I'll watch a video and see if that's interesting. Now I'm kind of back again on the topic of VR. I just thought it would be so cool if more people had VR and I could actually be live in VR with the people here in the community and just interact, have a little bit fun with people while talking about things. It just feels like a very effective way to connect to people. Seems very fun. But I think that will be a bit more in the future. But in case anybody plays Echo Arena, let me know. I'd be happy to join some match someday. But I don't have too much time. Let me just make that clear. I prioritize my practice for sculpting and art, so that's the other thing. Can you guys just give me a second? I need to step out for a minute or so I'll be right back. Alright, sorry for the quick interruption. Never mind that. Okay, let's go on. Oh, congratulations on getting your VR headset. It will be a wonderful experience first. Trust me. So, make the face rounder, bigger cheeks. Okay, I'll try that too. Let's see. Alright, thanks for the suggestions, for those who gave me a quick comment. I will try to add some of these. Another point that I realized is that here the top of the head in particular is very round compared to a male face. So I'll be trying that a little bit. What can we do about the ears? I don't think the ears really are a problem. I mean, they're just not detailed yet. There's not much I can do about them. Maybe they're a little bit too big, but alright, let's leave them like this for now. I'll try to put in some eyes next. It's something I've been struggling with forever. Maybe I can get something better this time around. So there is a very nice way to think about the shape of the eyes. You see how there is one top, the highest point of this curve and the lowest point of the lower eyelid. They have a relation that is sort of slanted line like this. So when you make eyes and you want to get the line right, make sure that you get the shape sort of like this, where the highest point is a bit more inwards than this. And what's interesting is now when you make the eyes look left or right, the upper point will be, or basically imagine the eyeball inside with the little bit standing out where the iris is, and because the iris is a bit higher than in the center, it will affect the upper eyelid more. So if the character was now looking to the right side like this, this curve would move so that this point moves strongly towards this direction, as well as here a little bit, and the lines would change. So if I draw these, if I correct these lines a little bit, we get a new shape, and I hope you can recognize it. But now we have shapes that make the eye look like the character is looking to the right side. So that's kind of a model that I use to make the shape right, for example. I have these sort of strategies for almost every part, but obviously some need improvement, some I'm not quite confident with yet. Okay, just give me a second. Somebody's knocking on my door. I just gotta go away for a second again. Alright. So what was I talking about? Sorry, I haven't been keeping up with the chat, really. I love seeing the art that you guys do every time I do the stream, so if you have anything to share, feel free to send it somehow. I mean, I'll usually be looking at them on a separate screen, but yeah, feel free to send something, because someone has been mentioning something about that. Don't worry about grabbing popcorn. I won't be away for long. Anyways, so yeah, another really funny thing about studying the face is that you start looking at people so intensely. I find myself outside, like walking around on campus, staring at people all the time, and you always have to make sure that nobody notices you, because it can be very awkward. But then when somebody sits near you who has a very interesting face and you really want to know what about this nose in particular makes it look so interesting, and you keep looking at them, at some point you'll usually figure it out. And then you have to deal with the consequences. No, it's just fun, but anyways, I just had this situation a couple of times recently, and it's just a funny story. Yeah, you can just send a link in the chat. I mean, it's not going to show up unless I approve the link, but I can make it show up in the chat for everyone. Just let me like check it first on my different screen. Sorry that I missed the story here, but I just realized that two people found each other for a game project. That's wonderful. Good luck, guys. I hope your collaboration works out. Does anybody know, by the way, about character modeling competitions out there? I'm curious about if there is anything that gives people a chance to work on a certain character project that's a bit more, where basically you can gain experience for modeling jobs. Because I've tried to search for something like that recently, but most of the ones I found were more general things where environments would come up oftentimes. Hey Cupcake, thanks for joining the stream. Thanks, I'm finally getting there. That makes me happy. Just not a very young person. Well, that's alright, but let me work on that just because I want to gain some knowledge about what makes the differences here. I'm kind of trying to figure out the lines in particular. One of the reasons why I kind of tried to keep it a bit angled in all places is because all the curves in 3D even, they have some sort of origin, some direction to it. And when you are able to define them with a hard line and it looks alright, even though it's not smoothed out, then usually you won't have trouble making it smooth as well, because that's like the basic information that is compressed in the curvature, this main line. And also the planes are very important to know which sections of the face belong together. So, speaking of which, I've been thinking about character design and faces in particular, and I've just recently made my own little theory about what skills character design is composed of. I mean, it's a very, very basic and very specific overview for myself for learning a couple of skills that I want, but in my opinion, in order to make good-looking characters and faces in particular, I found the skills of proportion, anatomy, and basically the execution, as in the knowledge about personality, about emotion and such, that these three components are very essential. By proportion, I mean knowing the general relation of sizes and whatnot on a face, so that, you know, it actually looks human and not like anything else. But proportion does not include detail, so a proportionally correct sculpt might be a simplified version of a head, even less detailed than what I'm doing here, maybe something along these lines. But anatomy comes in when you start to work on the details, because all the details that you put onto a face are based on anatomy. Every tissue of fat, every muscle below the skin will be affecting what the surface looks like. And so anatomy, the reason I was thinking this, by the way, is that studying anatomy alone won't give you good results, because you will know where all the muscles are, you will know where details have to be placed. However, you'll be missing an overall sense of proportion. That's why I kind of separated those skills. So both components, proportion and anatomy, become therefore very essential to characters. And finally, with those two skills, you can make generic characters pretty well, because then, well, basically you studied the whole shape of a normal human being, but then you'll need a bit more knowledge on the side of what various faces look like, as in emotions, as in personality, story, and these are the sort of things I just called execution as a third category. And I'm kind of approaching my own personal studying of 3D currently in this method, separating it into these three categories. And I'm pretty sure that's very similar for drawing. I wouldn't be surprised if you could take that concept one by one and just convert it for using learning how to draw characters. But my methods have been changing so often, every couple of months, so we'll see. Personally, I still see myself in the stage of hoping to just be able to make generic looking characters first. But as soon as I feel very comfortable with that, I expect having the opportunity to experiment with different expressions and all that fun stuff. So the stream has been going on for 1 hour to this point, and the sculpt is also about 1 hour and a bit more maybe into the progress, just to give you a little bit of background information about that. It's actually surprising how fast you can make one of these sculpts. That's why recently I'm limiting myself to making smaller portions at once. I'm not trying to make a whole character, because I know that a whole character would take me a week at least. So making only faces allows me to make a couple of faces every week, and that gives me a lot of repetition, so that I can actually remember the shapes, actually learn and fix my mistakes in where I put the shapes. So learning can be, to sum it up, a very strategic process. Maybe it should be to make it effective, but I'm not sure about that. Oh, thanks for sending the link. Let me quickly take a look. Yeah, you tried to put the dot into brackets so that it wouldn't show up, but YouTube still filters those. Anyways, I approved the link, so it should be showing up now in the chat for everybody. I think that's a pretty good character. That was posted by maybe Mevet. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I really like the painting and the colors on that. I think your character is a good example for like in these 3 skills and competencies that I talked about. I think that you're very strong in the category of personality and character. What is it? Emotion. The character seems like having a story. You know, you can look at the character and think about the background story. So, good job on that one. And it makes me so happy to hear that people actually learned so much from the videos that I make. That's really, really what makes me happy and what makes me continue making videos. The reason why I started being on YouTube is pretty much that I was frustrated with not having the resources that I wanted to have when I was looking for them online. But so much has changed since then. Most of the things are already available somewhere, and I hope I could contribute my part to some extent to that. Oh, and the jab. It's okay. Thanks for still listening to the stream. I'm actually very happy that so many people joined the conversation here. And just throw in your comments whenever you feel like it. Is anybody else doing some art while listening to the stream? Kind of curious. I always like doing that whenever there is a stream about art, of which I also watch a couple. I will use this opportunity to sit back and to focus on my own art as well, because it will keep me motivated. So that's very nice about that. These eyes are not quite right. Let's see. Alright, let's give her some eyebrows, because I feel like these will be very important for giving away some information about the character, the personality. Not really the personality, but like I said before, that eyebrows are quite a strong sign of whether the character is male or female. So I hope that this will improve something. Interestingly, there, like below the eyebrows, there is actually a little step in the skin, which you wouldn't see if you just look at people, because there are not many people without eyebrows, obviously. But it's important to throw them in, because otherwise your model will look a bit off. Something along the lines of this should be alright. Maybe it's even too exaggerated, but that's alright for now. So what does everybody think so far about the sculpt? Yeah, I don't know. I probably just got used to looking at it at this point. It's really interesting how after a few hours, when I come back and look at what I actually worked on, it will look a lot worse than what I would remember. Let me try to get the mouth a bit more detailed from here on. So here's some more information about proportions, by the way. So eye corners, the inner eye corner is supposed to be about the same place where the nostrils kind of end, on the same horizontal position. I kind of drew in a line here if you want to check it out. And the corner of the mouth goes to where the iris is. Of course, there are variations of that rule. You will find people who have eyes wider apart, but as an average, that is a good way to start out with it. Yeah, not the most female character anymore. Yeah, but I think you get my point about this being a difficult thing. I still haven't figured it out. It's really fun though to have an objective like that, a goal for studying like this, because if you just make characters because making characters, it might be not very interesting. It might be hard to continue this for a long time. But if you have different kind of challenges that you face, and you can kind of measure your result, even if it's a subjective measurement, it will be motivation at least. Yeah, there is a show that I watch right now, actually. So let's talk a little bit about anime series then. So, does anybody know Inuyashiki, the show that's made in 3D? I enjoyed it kind of. It's very interesting how it's quite intense sometimes. They go very far with violence. But they use 3D in a very efficient way. They have stories that are more powerful than what other companies would kind of want to do. But because they're doing it in 3D, and it feels like they're good at kind of keeping the costs down, I think they have more courage to try things that other companies would not attempt. So I really enjoyed that show, for example. Sure. Boruto Blazing Strike. Feel free to post your concept art and I'll take a look. Give you a little feedback if you want that. Yeah, people know it in the chat. Yeah, oh, I didn't even mention the most interesting part about the show. You know how in most anime shows there will be, you know, a generic high school character as a MC, like main character. But in this show that I mentioned just before, Inuyasuki, it's just an old guy in his 70s with like pain in the back and some, I don't know what. It's completely different from what you'd expect, but it's wonderful. You really start to sympathize with the main character and you see his situation, and it's really enjoyable to watch. Yeah, thanks for putting it there in the chat. Yeah, you might have a little bit of delay then, but it's okay. I'm reading hopefully most of the comments, so I can get back to what you're writing. Oh really? The author is the same as with Guns? I didn't watch Guns or read it actually, but I know that it's one of the very big famous shows out there. I didn't know that it was made by such a famous person. But I'm just very happy that in the whole anime industry that there is some new taste to shows these days, because I felt like the shows that we get recently were going very boring. I'm not enjoying most of them anymore because they just really lose story. They have such plain ideas these days, so it's very refreshing. What a great comment. Yeah. I told you, at the beginning that this sculpt would take various directions and it would be changing that direction multiple times through the process. And I'm pretty sure that's what we did a couple of times already. But I'm not disliking it. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm not disliking it. That's what I can tell you. I mean, we're definitely getting somewhere, aren't we? I've been actually drawing something too recently. I was thinking that I've been doing too many general faces these days, and I wanted to get a little bit back into drawing a character that has a little bit of a story, but I haven't prepared to share it, so let's keep that for another day. But maybe one of my streams will be drawing instead of ZBrush, if I get to that. If I feel confident. It's about confidence, probably. I mean, I want to keep it at least a little bit bearable this stream. Alright, so one thing that I was told is that I always make my head look like when I connect the neck. as if they're like putting their heads forward. So let me try to do it differently this time. Maybe I should just leave it like this. And for the body, I will add just 2 more cylinders, kind of sideways. I don't want them to merge like this, so let me try this again. I mean, at this point it's alright. I just want to get the shape a little bit right. Okay, I think that's a good way to start out with it. And I can work my way from here. So let's use Dynamesh, and now I can work on it. I also wonder how the character would look like if I actually had hair, because we're so used to seeing like all female characters with long hair or some hairstyle that is typical, and the same, of course, the opposite way around. So maybe that's one of the big parts that make a difference here. My character looks angry. It's so easy to get sidetracked during modeling, because you look at everything at the same time pretty much, just looking around, trying to find places that you can work on, but then everything that you notice will take your attention and lead to the next issue pretty much that you will want to fix. Let me fix this a little bit first. And I'm trying to avoid getting into too high resolution from the beginning on, because it will be very hard to make rough changes if the resolution is too high from the beginning on. That's also a little bit of an advice if you're doing modeling. Okay. I feel like I have too much resolution already anyways. I should have started working on the neck way before. You see, when I smooth the mesh, I only make very slow progress in changing the shape, so that would have been easier early on. But anyways, I just want to get the shape roughly in. And somehow I'm back to a male-looking character. Thanks, Albane Edge, for pointing that out. What happened? You tell me what happened. I didn't touch the face. Oh, actually I did. I messed it up, didn't I? Let me get this right. Once again. But what do you guys think in comparison about like the previous weeks? Do you think there is any improvement or any change in some way for those who have watched previous streams? Yeah, true, sorry, I kind of placed it very high up. Let me adjust that a little bit. Back to Adam, indeed. Let's see. One thing that I still want to do is to get 3D scans of some friends around me to study faces. Because when you have a 3D scan on a computer, you can, you know, look through and make a section and look at the proportion and the shape of whatever you get of this cutout. Like, you know, the sliced layer that you can generate. That's kind of what I think would be useful for studying. Thinner and longer neck. Sure, let me try that. Still a bit hesitant of doing it too much. And I actually haven't really studied yet the anatomy of the neck region and the back. So in this area I'm mostly guessing my way through it based on all the things that I see. So would you guys like to see me attempt modeling the hair for this character? Let me know in the chat. So somebody mentioned that the trapezius was too high, and that refers to this bone here, not the bone, sorry, the muscle on the back, like it's this section, this kind of bigger muscle that also shows on the line here, and so I kind of tried to adjust it by moving this area downwards a little bit. And I think it worked. It looks a lot better now, so that was a very good suggestion there, I think. Yes, 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 yeah. Okay, that's a very, very obvious answer. Thanks, thanks for making that so clear. So we are making hair then. Let me warn you, I have not much experience with that. And usually, like, what I would want to have eventually is hair that is made out of many planes that I can map textures on that is useful for games. But I won't be doing that today because I'm using ZBrush Core and I'm missing some of the features that I would like to have, let's put it this way, for doing that sort of thing. And also I don't have textures and all the other things that I would need on hand, so I will be doing I'll be attempting to model just the mesh of the hair. But okay, let's set a time. We're at 1 hour 30 minutes. I will continue to work on the sculpt for another 10 minutes, so until 37 in the timeline, and then I will do the hair for the rest of the time, just so that I won't overdo it. And by the way, I'm pretty happy with the face now. What do you guys think? It looks kind of like a female character now. Do you guys agree? Are we back to Eve, or are we still with Adam? Let me not mess it up. I'm kind of tempted to mess around. I mean, I'm missing still lots of detail though. Like, it's very rough, a very rough sculpt, and lots of the shapes are very smoothed out and not very confident. So it's not a very nice sculpt, but I think I shouldn't invest too much time on that. It would be good for myself to move on to get some experience with hair modeling. So that's why I set a time limit. Wonderful, I got agreements. Thanks so much. Alright. I kind of want to work quickly, now that I only have 10 minutes left for the main sculpting, like before moving on to the hair. Kind of want to finish up a few things. Oh, by the way, I've been trying to sculpt in VR. There is Oculus Medium, there is Quill, a drawing application, and there is Google Tilt Brush, and Google Blocks. I mean, those are just various tools that allow you to do either painting, 3D modeling, or sculpting. But let me tell you this, it's surprisingly hard to sculpt in VR. It's a different skill. It's not what I thought it would be. So controlling your arms to get the right shapes and looking around in the right way turns out to be quite difficult in VR. So even though you see it in 3D, I wasn't able to make very satisfying sculpts in there. But interestingly, the same thing happened to me when I'm doing sculpting in sand. You know how sometimes you get the chance at the beach maybe, or in a sandbox, to sculpt something with sand or something similar. Or it can be anything, really. But it turns out, even though if you're able to sculpt on the computer digitally in ZBrush, that it's quite a different skill. Of course, eventually you will get to something close to what you would like to see, because you can look around and you tweak it because you have the knowledge about the shape. But it's not very connected in my experience, the skills that you need for sculpting in 3D and the skills that we use in 2D sculpting. Oh, yeah, going back to the topic of currently, of anime shows that are currently out there. Hoseki no Kuni is another anime that is made in 3D and is currently airing, and it's also really enjoyable. It's a bit misleading at first, the character design and everything. You will think, oh no, it's just another one of those shows, pretty much, but turns out to be quite a unique one, to me at least. It was also suggested to me, actually, and I wouldn't watch it first because I thought that it wasn't really what I was looking for. But give it a try if you want. I think it's a very enjoyable show. It was just put into the comments, so if you're looking for the title. And it has, again, interesting CGI effects and everything. And it's interesting how you start to not really mind what the graphics look like after a while. Let's just say it's you need to get used to it. But then after a while, because the story is interesting, it doesn't really matter if the characters look a bit different, a bit like, it is good looking, but unusual in my opinion. Okay, let's add some final detail on the neck. What's my time looking like? 5 minutes left. So here's some more anatomical details that I want to put in around the neck. Let's see. I'm not sure if that made it look better. Let me try to make it more subtle. It's often about the balance between subtleness of anatomy, because you have all the knowledge and you want to show that you know it all. But then often you'll have to make it just a lot more subtle than you would expect or you would want to make. Alright, maybe that's good enough for the neck. Probably end up leaving it a little bit rough there. Thanks for pointing this out. That Adam's apple shouldn't be visible on here. Good point. Well, it's not like it doesn't exist, but you're right about that. Let me try to fix that a little bit. How come that I didn't change anything about the face and now something bothers me about it again? How much time do you have? 1 more minute? 2 more minutes? I don't want to fail this little challenge that I gave myself of finishing this part within the 10 minutes. Alright, that's good enough for here. Let me use the final minute, the last minute, to see if I can improve anything about the proportions in the face. Probably shouldn't mess around too much with it, but I'll try. Alright, bye bye Mivi Mavet. Thanks for joining the stream. Hope to see you around again next time. Okay, we're probably a bit back on the male side of things. Although I didn't really change much in the end. But anyways, I want to move on to hair now. Just so that I have a little bit of experience there too. Okay, so for the hair I'll be starting out with a new subtool. Alright, so I'll be putting in a new sphere, and I'll be working on this separately so that I don't interfere with anything that my other sculpt has there. And I'll kind of place it roughly to where the hair is supposed to be. And from here I usually like to start to just jump in and sculpt a little bit on it to roughly get the shapes and the idea of everything right. So I've been working with a reference on the site, so I'll be taking inspiration from there as for the hairstyle. And it looks something along the lines of this here. Let me use Dynamesh to keep the resolution on a good level. I don't want to start out very high at all, so I'll really turn down the resolution here so that we have a very easy time to move the points around. That will keep things smooth and easy for us. And when smoothing a lot on objects in ZBrush, they tend to go very thin and start to disappear. So I'll often use the inflate brush to get the volume back that I lose. Then you can remesh it with Dynamesh and something along those lines to fix the lost volume again. So let me get the curvatures right. I start almost every object with the move brush. Speaking of which, it seems like a very good way to get the proportions right before getting stuck with some details. It keeps you from spending too much time on anything that you shouldn't be paying attention to at that time. So that is the rough concept of the hairstyle that I'm going for. I will be adding more detail from here on and moving things to the right place a little bit here and there. So next up, I really like to use the damn standard brush for making creases and details. It gives you a very nice fold, very easy to control, and also to make this inner side where the hair kind of connects to the skin, to make it more more exaggerated, more visible. It's also a very good tool to use along the edge. Hi there, Lyron and Abdullah and Zero. Many new people who joined the stream. Thanks for joining. I'm just practicing sculpting here, but feel free to throw in any questions in the chat. I'm looking there every now and then, and maybe I can talk about some topics. So, thanks for that question, Cupcake. I'll just go with the first part of your YouTube name. I don't use base meshes recently. I see that it is a very important thing to do at some point to save, time, especially when you work for a company. They don't want you probably to spend a lot of time on base meshes and that stuff, because they want you to make new characters as quickly as possible. However, I want to learn about the proportions and that right now, so I just start out with spheres, and for every single character that I make, I go from the very beginning so that I can learn all the things on the way. I don't want to skip any steps, in other words. But I can imagine that in the future I'll be using, for example, if this sculpt turns out to be really good, I would be using the face as a base mesh, smooth it out a little bit, maybe make it a bit simplified, and then every future character would be based on this, and all the different areas would just be distorted to fit the new design. That would be a way to very effectively make use of previous projects. So sometimes it happens that I replace these icons with something. What was it? The move brush? I finally figured out how to fix that. When you click on these with shift twice, you can change what is displayed down here. Sometimes when you click really fast, you end up changing them, and then it's very annoying. Just like how I did right now. That wasn't even on purpose. Okay, now I'm back to what I wanted. Oh no, what's going on here? I see. Okay. So holding down shift, now this needs to be the smooth brush, and now I can click on the clay buildup brush. ZBrush can really be confusing at times. The way you select brushes and everything. It has a lot of functionality to it, but it is easy to mistakenly use some feature and not to know the way back. I'm still very new to ZBrush myself. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about what I do with the hair. So I started out with a sphere. I used the move brush to drag the hair roughly into the right shape. I mean, it's really, really rough at that point. And you want to make sure, one thing that is very often gotten wrong by many people is that you add too much volume right around the head. Because you're approaching it in such a rough way, it will be very easy to just make a very, very thick layer of hair around the head. But that tends to be usually way too much. So I like to use the trim dynamic brush to slowly reduce the volume from all sides, to slowly work myself towards the skin, and then I'll just stop a little bit before that, and that will give me a nice mesh that is very close to the skull, to the skin, but still roughly the right shape, the right distance. And you know, oftentimes you'll find some very rough changes that you want to make, so keep it low, the details low first, so that you don't have any trouble making these sort of adjustments. And in this section where the hair and the skin kind of connects, make sure that you add this inwards going curve, because the hair should be lying on top of the skin. It shouldn't intersect with the skin, and we kind of want to indicate that with our sculpt. So this is what it could look like. And another thing that I kind of try to think about right now is that the hair, all the hair is in one kind of big strand, you could say. But the hair has different length, and some will end earlier than the longest one down here. So you slowly want to reduce the diameter of this strand, but you want to do it in an even way. Don't go like increasing volume, reducing volume. The sort of volume has to stay the same. You can make it wider, but then you also have to make it thinner in exchange. That makes sense again. But we have to be careful not to use the volume in a way that, to increase the volume in a way that doesn't make sense. So it's similar for clothes, by the way. When you model clothes, you'll also think about all these aspects, as in, how do wrinkles interact? Is it still a plane? Because what we know about clothes is that when you stretch it, it will be a planar surface. It won't be a curved surface. So we make our wrinkles according to, we kind of distribute them according to how it would make sense. And so I'm also attempting to do that here with the hair as good as I can. And it's only once I'm happy with the rough shape of it, when all the curves are in place and the volume is sort of set, when I will start detailing it. So, because I want to go move on a bit quickly here, I will be starting with that soon, but you might want to pay quite some attention to the rough version. Hi Rosa, thanks for joining the stream. I'm a bit quiet today, maybe? No, actually I have a very talkative day. I could be a lot quieter than this. Oh, and Albania has to leave. Thanks for joining though. I won't be streaming for a lot longer anyways. Maybe 10 minutes more. Maybe 20. No, not so much. Thanks for joining anyways. I really enjoyed the conversation. But I will try to quickly get this hair somewhere where we can leave it and call it a day. I don't want to leave it too unfinished. So if I click on this transparent button, I can get a view through the model, and I can try to make it a little bit less intersecting. That can help us a little bit with getting the effect right of the hair lying on top of the skin, not intersecting with it. So I'm trying to make it just barely intersect so that we don't have any holes, but at the same time not too much inside. Not too much, yeah. Something like this should be alright, and then we'll fix it from the outside view again without transparency on. And I would really like to add a few more strands here, but I'm not sure yet if I will do that. Oh, thanks for the question there. So Abdullah asks me if this is my profession, like modeling characters for games, and if it is full-time. Actually, not at all. I really struggle to find time to do modeling because I'm a full-time student. I'm a university student and I have lots of exams. I had an exam today. No, it's not an exam. I had a test today. I will have a test tomorrow, even though it's Saturday. The story behind that is that we'll have a national holiday here in Japan on January 8th, but because they don't want to reduce the number of days of education that we get, they will make us make up for all the classes that would have been on that Monday by having us come on Saturday tomorrow. So I'll have another test tomorrow and then have another one on Monday. So you see, full-time student means quite some stress. But I've been doing 3D generally for 8 years, but sculpting in particular, I've also started out very, very amateurish, but that was 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So it doesn't take too long to get into this, but I have like a story in various fields. So that's where my skill comes from. I'm thinking about how I can make this my career, obviously, since I'm in university now and I need to find a way after university, after graduation. And one very interesting thought is always that do you need various skills to be accepted in a company if this is what you want? It's not just about your technical skills in 3D. For example, if I want to stay in Japan, I need to know the language. There is no other way around it. I need to be very good at it as well. But I think I'm fine with that now because I'm studying here, I'm taking the classes of the language and everything. But now it turns out that I'm in a business school, right? Because that was the best opportunity for me to learn a whole language, the best opportunity to learn a whole new job as a plan B. But now you might end up having the team working skills, you might have the language skills, but then another component that's important is then again the technical side of things, which I still need to take care of myself because it's not part of my curriculum. So I've ended up being in a business management undergraduate program. But I'm really here for the language education and for learning about one more profession that is a little bit different from what I'm used to, so that I have a few different options or a few different skills that I can bring to my future workplace or whatever I'm going to be doing. I think that it will be useful in various aspects in my life. There's just one thing I always feel a bit sad about in this whole industry, which is that 3D modeling sometimes seems to be a very unappreciated, not unappreciated, but people don't know enough about it to appreciate it. For example, in the business world, you have all these competitions, and in what else? About environmental topics. You'll have investment support programs where people give their ideas. In all these things you can get support and you'll get lots of attention very publicly, in the general public even, that motivate you to stick with it. But have you ever heard about 3D being a national competition? You know, even if you're good at it, people won't know about it. They will watch your movies, but nobody will know who the modeler is, who made, I don't know, the model of Spider-Man or who knows what. So it's so two-sided again, where it's for us something really fun, but then a little bit sad because people will not really be able to appreciate it. So if there was a nationwide competition for students based on age, for example, as it is with art, for example, with paintings, that would be cool, because then, you know, you don't have the stress of competing, because all the competitions that we have are for everyone, right? So you will be forced to compete with professionals, which is like impossible at first. So it can be frustrating. But if there was a competition that is based on age or based on location, you know, you could give more people the chance to get into this topic. People could get more positive feedback. It could be a more publicly known topic, but I don't see that really happening in the near future, unfortunately. I was really lucky in my middle school that they just had an art teacher who was very innovative, as in he showed us about 3D, and that kind of got me all into the whole thing because it became a known topic for my entire class. And so only because my entire class could talk with me about the topic and could understand what it means to model something, that was a very huge advantage. But then, of course, once I changed school, it all changed, and I was kind of stuck then afterwards with, okay, I'm good at something, but nobody knows what I'm doing. So yep, I'm modeling in ZBrush Core these days. It's kind of a cheaper version of ZBrush, but it has most of the features that I would need for sculpting, so I use it for practice. By the way, because people were talking about the render engines in Blender, there is Cycles, Blender Internal, and there's going to be EEVEE. Is it already in the newest build, or do we still have to wait for that? I'm not 100% up to date with the development these days. If anybody could let me know in the comments, that would be great. I'm really looking forward to that myself, and I've heard rumors about them replacing, I mean not replacing, but removing the Blender internal renderer. Is that actually a thing? Blender internal render really had some advantages though, I have to say. But yeah, in a big picture, I guess it's not the most powerful render engine. I wonder if that was just a rumor or anything, or if there's more about that story. Alright, so as for my hair, I'm trying to... It is one mesh, but I'm trying to imagine it as various strands that keep splitting up and merging back together. And only when you imagine these strands in your mind, you will really be able to see where to put the lines. I'm not randomly placing lines here, right? I'm kind of imagining where the hairs are going and trying to make the mesh follow along those lines. To give you a little bit of insight about that again. And we might even want to have a hole in here to make like the strands really splitting up, but that takes a bit more time. Let me just leave it as it is. I'm really sad about not having the Boolean tools that you get in the full version of ZBrush. That would be really convenient. Yeah, apparently that's actually the thing about internal renderer being removed from Blender. Yeah, it wasn't the most efficient and everything, but well, we still can use the old versions of Blender if we ever really need it. I think once you know really how to use a tool, it's just very convenient because you can really solve all your problems with workarounds. And in Blender Internal there were so many ways to do all the things that initially don't seem to be possible. But anyways. So when I make these details with the damn standard brush, I try to do both positive and negative brush strokes to get both detail inwards as well as outwards. But then I'm only doing it very roughly for today. But I think, you know, generally speaking, I've already finished, you know, the layout of the hair. It's basically detailing it from here on. As for showing the principles of how to approach hair modeling, if you want to do a mesh hair, as in a block of hair that kind of tells what the hair is supposed to look like, this method, the way I did it to this point, and that's pretty much all you need to know. But it's obviously not very useful for games the way it is here. So next time I hope to, like, I'll be looking into that and trying to study it, and for a finished character I hope to have a different solution for hair. Wow, we have already passed 2 hours now. Alright. I think I learned quite a bit from today's session. I think we are at the point where I can leave it. So I wasn't fully able to achieve the differences, to clarifying the differences between male and female. It's still kind of in between. If you want to look at this character as a male, it could totally be a male character, but not 100% anymore. So I think I'm on the right track. So I'll be doing this similar thing again in the future. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining. If you have any last questions or comments, please throw them in now. I'll kind of fill a few more seconds to give you a chance to ask something. Otherwise, I'll be calling it a day. Thanks for adding that fairly. Oh, okay. I thought you were adding this, like, looking good. Fairly. No, actually the comment was just fixing the spelling. No, I'll definitely get somewhere, because I'm kind of comparing it to the previous streams. It kind of gives me a good opportunity to look back at what I did and to see if I actually improved something. And I do feel that over the weeks I slowly get a bit more out of my 1 hour or 2 hour of modeling time week by week. So seeing the progress definitely gives me motivation to keep doing this, and let's just see all together where I will end up in stream number 50. I mean, not many people are watching these, I know. It's just like 20 people or so. But that's still not that few, and I would be doing the modeling anyways. I mean, I have to make progress. So with that motivation, regardless of how much entertainment this stream might be, allow me to continue these next week. And as we don't have many more questions, let me just end the stream here. Thanks for watching, and don't forget that I'll be here around next week again. Bye then.